I think that each of us desires a life of wealth and prosperity. But do you know where the true source of this wealth comes from? Perhaps you've heard many pieces of advice about finances, hard work, and striving, but what really determines success and wealth in life? Today I want to share with you a profound truth about this matter. You might have stumbled upon this video by chance, but to me, that's no accident. Everything is destined, a plan that is already set and meaningful in your life. If you truly listen and internalize the things I am about to share, I believe your fate will change in a positive direction, bringing smooth fortune and steadily advancing career opportunities. We often think that hard work will provide us with a full and prosperous life, but in reality, relying solely on labor can only lead to a middle-class lifestyle. Ultimate wealth and true prosperity do not just come from effort, but also from factors beyond human control. That is virtue, and understanding this can completely change the path you walk. Let's now explore these secrets together. When it comes to wealth and prosperity, most people immediately think of making money and working hard to improve life. In fact, many people believe that as long as they work hard and put in their best effort, they will surely achieve good results, including wealth and success. But is this the only path to true wealth? To answer this question, we need to clearly distinguish between hard work and virtue. Hard work and its limitations. Hard work is a process that everyone must go through in life. It involves using strength and intelligence to earn money, support oneself, and care for one's family. Hardworking people can build a stable and adequate life and may even become successful individuals in society. However, there is something that not everyone realizes. Hard work can only take you to a certain level of living, and ultimate wealth cannot be simply the result of this effort. This can be easily seen when looking at people who work tirelessly, staying up late and waking up early, but in the end they can only maintain a relatively comfortable life, never attaining the immense wealth or ultimate prosperity they desire. Why is that? Because hard work, while important, is not the only factor that determines wealth. No matter how many hours you work or how much you struggle, you can only earn a certain amount within the limits of your labor. Each person has a set amount of time and energy each day and cannot work endlessly without rest. Therefore, while hard work may lead to a stable or even prosperous life, achieving long-term ultimate wealth and lasting prosperity is a different story. So is there a way to transcend the limitations of labor and reach higher levels of wealth? Virtue, the key to true wealth. Virtue is an important factor that many people overlook. This is what the ancients called gifted by heaven, luck or protection and shelter from the good things in life. People with virtue are not only wealthy in material terms, but also blessed with invisible rewards, helping them easily overcome hardships and find good opportunities in life. The old saying, "Small wealth comes from effort, great wealth comes from heaven," has clearly stated that to achieve ultimate wealth, we cannot rely solely on personal effort, but also need the help of luck, nature, and the universe. Wealth cannot be attained merely through hard work. It also requires the support of the virtue that each person accumulates through their daily actions. Virtue from good deeds. One of the ways to accumulate virtue is by doing good deeds. Accumulating virtue is how you receive help not only from others but also from the universe, from heaven and earth. This is an invisible but extremely powerful law. When you do good, helping others without expecting anything in return, you will receive blessings beyond imagination. This may be prosperity in work, good luck in life, or even peace and good health. Virtue comes not only from the good deeds you do in life, but also from what your ancestors left behind. Each person has a certain virtue capital that their ancestors have accumulated, and how you preserve and promote these virtues will greatly affect your career and destiny. Hard work or virtue. Both are important, but they differ in nature. Hard work helps you achieve a stable life, but to gain true wealth and lasting prosperity, you must understand that it is only one part of the process. Virtue is the element that brings enduring prosperity. If you only rely on labor without virtue, it will be difficult for you to transcend your own limits and achieve great accomplishments. Thus, wealth and prosperity do not only come from each person's efforts, but also from the way you live, the way you accumulate virtue and the blessings you create for yourself and your family. That is the true source of wealth and success in life. So what is virtue? Virtue, according to ancient beliefs, is not just an abstract concept, but something that deeply impacts the life of each individual. Virtue is the root, the foundation, upon which one can gain wealth, health, and all good things in life. In modern society, where everything can be measured by money and material things, virtue holds a very different and profound meaning. It transcends material values. Therefore, virtue is not only important in personal life, but also has a significant influence on the prosperity of families and communities. Virtue and its relationship with wealth. Virtue and wealth are intricately connected and cannot be separated. People who live virtuously, do good deeds, and accumulate virtue will always receive blessings from the universe, and in turn, wealth will naturally come to them. On the other hand, those who focus solely on making money without accumulating virtue will often not be able to hold on to wealth for long and may even face disasters or difficulties in life. Virtue is a source of positive energy that helps people attract good luck and benefactors. When someone has virtue, they will receive help from others, easily encounter opportunities, and face fewer risks in their work. This is why some people, though not exceptionally talented, still achieve success, while those who are more capable face continuous challenges. Virtue opens the door to wealth, making the path of career and success much easier. The ancient saying, "Wealth is the branch, virtue is the root," means that virtue is the foundation, the basis for everything to remain stable. Wealth and prosperity will naturally result from the accumulation of virtue. Therefore, when you do good deeds, not just for personal gain but out of kindness and sincerity, you will be blessed, and in turn, wealth will come naturally. 3 levels of understanding about virtue and wealth. There are 3 levels of understanding about virtue and earning money, each carrying a different meaning and impacting people's lives in various ways. Low-level understanding. Earning money as a sign of ability. People with this understanding believe that hard work and personal effort lead to wealth and success. They see earning money as a result of labor, intelligence, and personal ability. While this view is reasonable and can help them achieve a stable standard of living, it has its limits. You can only earn money within the capacity and limits of your efforts. Medium-level understanding. Earning money as a reflection of awareness. People with this understanding realize that earning money not only requires hard work, but also an understanding of life's laws and business. They work hard but also know how to invest, build relationships, and seize opportunities. However, they still do not fully recognize that virtue is the factor that determines long-term success. They still lack the virtue necessary to reach true wealth. High-level understanding. Earning money as a manifestation of virtue. The highest understanding of virtue is that wealth truly comes from virtue. People with this understanding know that doing good, accumulating virtue, and helping others is the path to lasting prosperity. Virtue is invisible, but has a profound impact on wealth. When you accumulate virtue, do good without expecting reward. Blessings will naturally come and wealth will follow. Accumulating virtue and its impact on destiny. Accumulating virtue is an essential part of the journey toward prosperity. When you help others, not just materially but also spiritually, you are accumulating virtue for yourself. Simple acts like helping the elderly across the street, visiting the sick, or just listening and comforting someone are ways to accumulate virtue. These actions, though seemingly small, are seeds of virtue you plant into life, and as they grow, you will receive blessings beyond measure. On the other hand, negative actions deplete virtue, leading you into poverty and hardship. Speaking ill, harming others, or living selfishly creates negative karma, reducing the virtue you have. Therefore, maintaining virtue and doing good deeds not only ensures a happy life, but is also the way to attract wealth and bring lasting prosperity and peace. Virtue and lasting prosperity. Virtue is the key to lasting wealth. Wealth that comes from virtue will not diminish over time. Instead, it will grow and expand. When you live righteously, accumulating virtue through good actions, you will not only receive good things but will also help your family and descendants to enjoy lasting blessings. Your virtue will lay a solid foundation for future generations, ensuring they live prosperous, lucky, and successful lives. Thus, virtue is not only invisible but also the determinant of success, wealth, and happiness in life. When you do good, live well, and accumulate virtue, wealth will naturally come to you. Therefore, do not just focus on making money. Pay attention to building and accumulating virtue, because that is the true root of lasting wealth and prosperity. Next, I will analyze the relationship between the virtue of ancestors and future generations. This is an important part of many cultural traditions and ethics, particularly in Eastern cultures. According to ancient beliefs, virtue is not only the result of personal good deeds, but also the inheritance from the virtue accumulated by ancestors over generations. Virtue is the foundational factor that determines the prosperity, wealth, and peace of a family or clan over many generations. The link between the virtue of ancestors and future generations is not an invisible connection, but a direct interaction that impacts the fate and wealth of each individual in the family. The virtue of ancestors as the foundation for the blessings of descendants. The virtue of ancestors is the invisible resource that each family or clan carries from generation to generation. The ancients believed that if ancestors lived virtuously, did many good deeds, and accumulated virtue, then their descendants would receive blessings, good opportunities in life. The virtue of ancestors is like a capital accumulated over many generations, helping descendants have a strong foundation to develop, from wealth to health and happiness. We can see that families with a tradition of living virtuously, doing good deeds, tend to have stable and prosperous lives. Their descendants are not only lucky in their work, but also easily overcome challenges in life. The virtue of the ancestors creates an invisible shield that protects them from disasters and ensures many favorable circumstances. The influence of ancestors' virtue on the destiny of descendants. The virtue of ancestors is not just luck or wealth, but also relates to peace in life. A family with a strong foundation of virtue will help their descendants live in a harmonious and peaceful environment. The descendants in such families will have opportunities to develop their talents, good health, and face fewer health issues or major crises in life. The virtue of ancestors serves as protection, like a shield, helping descendants easily avoid disasters. In addition, virtue also helps descendants gain the protection of benefactors. Families with virtue tend to meet good people, individuals, who can assist them, open opportunities for them in their work and life. This is one of the key factors that help descendants achieve success and attain good things in life. The virtue of ancestors can dwindle if not preserved and promoted. The virtue of ancestors is not something that lasts forever if it is not preserved and promoted. A family, even if it has ancestral virtue, will see that virtue dwindle if future generations do not cherish, preserve the good values, and continue doing good deeds. The ancients said, "Wealth and blessings cannot last beyond 3 generations," meaning that wealth and virtue cannot endure for more than 3 generations. If future generations do not continue the tradition of doing good deeds and accumulating virtue, then the virtue of ancestors will gradually be depleted, causing the family or clan to fall into poverty and stagnation. Moreover, if descendants live incorrectly, commit wrongdoings, or fail to do good deeds, they will weaken the virtue of their ancestors. Virtue cannot naturally last if it is not protected and promoted through ethical actions and good deeds. How to preserve and promote the virtue of ancestors. To prevent the virtue of ancestors from being depleted, each generation must actively preserve and promote the values that ancestors have established. One of the most important ways to do this is by doing good deeds, living righteously, and setting an example for future generations. Descendants must cherish the efforts of their ancestors, maintain good traditions, and continue to do good deeds in their daily lives. In addition, honoring parents, taking care of the family, and living harmoniously with the community are also ways to preserve and promote the virtue of ancestors. When descendants engage in good deeds, they not only benefit themselves but also help protect and promote the virtue of their ancestors, laying a solid foundation for future generations. The relationship between the virtue of ancestors and future generations is a close connection that profoundly influences the fate, wealth, and happiness of every family. The virtue of ancestors is an invisible capital that helps descendants live peaceful and prosperous lives. However, to maintain and promote this virtue, each generation must do good, live righteously, and continue the moral values that ancestors have left behind. Virtue cannot naturally last forever, and if not preserved, it will gradually deplete. Therefore, each generation has the responsibility to protect and develop virtue so that they can enjoy blessings, wealth, and happiness for the long term. 2. Gain virtue. Live a peaceful and prosperous life. Accumulating virtue is an essential journey in everyone's life. The ancients pointed out the 3 greatest deeds that each of us can do to accumulate virtue, which are honoring our parents, always speaking good words, and doing good deeds and charity. These deeds not only help individuals accumulate their own virtue, but also create a beautiful living environment conducive to families and future generations. In this section, we will delve into each of these deeds to understand why they are so important and their impact on people's lives. Honoring parents, the source of virtue. Honoring parents is a simple but significant good deed that brings the greatest virtue in life. The ancients have a saying, "Parents are the best field of virtue in one's life." Treating parents well is not only the duty of children, but also a powerful act of accumulating virtue, helping families live in harmony and ensuring stable financial prosperity. Parents are the ones who gave birth to us and raised us. And no matter how successful we become, we can never repay them fully. Therefore, honoring parents is not just about filial duty, but also a way to accumulate virtue for yourself and your family. How can we show respect to our parents? First, it is through respect and care, especially when they are elderly and in need of attention. Providing both mental and material care for parents not only helps them live joyfully, but also creates a deep connection across generations in the family. Moreover, honoring parents is also a way for us to learn valuable moral lessons about filial piety and kindness that our parents have taught us. A filial child will receive 4 types of good fortune that anyone desires: a dignified appearance, abundant health, peace without illness, and a long and healthy life. This means that honoring parents not only helps build a peaceful life for oneself, but also accumulates virtue for future generations. Often, speaking good words, planting seeds of virtue in life. Words are a powerful tool for building relationships and accumulating virtue. A kind and thoughtful word will bring good luck, helping your life become smoother. The ancients said, "A good word can warm the entire winter." On the other hand, harsh and malicious words can cause harm and create bad karma for oneself. Therefore, speaking well is a way to plant seeds of virtue, while also attracting good things from others. Saying kind words not only helps improve relationships with those around you, but also brings peace to yourself. People who know how to speak good words, speak positively, will have a smoother life, face fewer difficulties, and receive help from many others. Words are not only an expression of feelings, but also carry energy, directly influencing the psychology and emotions of those who hear them. Speaking kindly not only impacts others, but also creates good karma for the speaker. In daily life, whenever you meet someone, don't forget to offer them sincere compliments and positive encouragement. Never let your words harm others. A harsh word, even though it may provide temporary relief, will bring long-term damage, not just to others, but also to yourself. Remember that kind words are the way to build good relationships, earn love, and receive help from others. Those who frequently speak good words will create favorable circumstances, thereby opening up opportunities and wealth in life. Doing good deeds and charity, sowing virtue for yourself and your family. Charity and good deeds are not only about helping others, but also a way to accumulate virtue for oneself. The saying, "You reap what you sow," represents a simple but powerful rule. If you want to receive something, you must first give it. When you do good deeds, help others, You not only bring happiness to them, but also plant seeds of virtue for yourself. Charity doesn't always have to involve grand actions like donating money or building schools and hospitals. Sometimes small, but meaningful actions like helping the elderly across the street, visiting patients, or simply listening and encouraging someone are ways to accumulate virtue. These actions may seem insignificant, but they are the seeds of virtue you sow into life, and as they grow, you will receive countless blessings. Moreover, charity also helps you overcome concerns and fears about finances. When you are willing to share your resources, no matter how little or much, you are creating positive energy that boosts your financial prosperity. This applies not only in the financial realm, but also in sharing love, wisdom, and time with others. Charity not only has immediate benefits, but also brings long-term blessings. Those who do good deeds and practice charity will receive help from the universe, with benefactors appearing at the right time to help them overcome difficulties, assist in their work and life. This is one of the reasons why people who do good deeds often find success in life, because they have built a solid foundation of virtue. The three major actions to accumulate virtue, honoring parents, speaking good words, and doing good deeds and charity, are all immensely important and practical in life. They not only help you accumulate virtue, but also bring peace, wealth, and happiness to yourself, your family, and the community. Accumulating virtue is a long-term process, but if you sincerely carry out these three actions, virtue will naturally come to you, leading you to a life of fulfillment, prosperity, and happiness. Remember that virtue is the determining factor in all success in life, and only when you live righteously and do good deeds can you attract wealth and lasting peace. The story of the eight-tailed cat. The story of the eight-tailed cat begins when a cat lives in a temple. The cat didn't understand anything about cultivation or ethics. One day, the Buddha appeared and told the cat, "You must cultivate. Every time you help someone, you will grow another tail. When you have 9 tails, you will achieve enlightenment and become a sage." The cat listened to the Buddha's words and began to perform good deeds, helping those around it. Every time the cat helped someone, whether by saving a sick person, assisting a poor person, or simply offering useful advice, it grew another tail. The cat felt very happy and excited as it gained more and more tails, symbolizing the virtue and wisdom it was accumulating. The cat sensed the power of doing good deeds, and its cultivation journey became clearer. When the cat had 8 tails, it was thrilled, thinking that if it helped one more person, it would reach the goal of 9 tails and attain enlightenment. However, when it prepared to help the 9th person, it discovered something strange. The first tail had fallen off because it had run out of energy. The cat realized that accumulating virtue was not an infinite process, but a journey that needed to be maintained and continuously developed. Feeling confused and exhausted after 200 years of good deeds, the cat met a scholar it had once helped. The scholar had become an upright official, successful in both career and life. The cat shared its long years of cultivation, expressing fatigue and asking the scholar, "Why haven't I reached my goal? I've done good deeds and helped others for 200 years, but still haven't succeeded." The scholar looked at the cat and said, "You saved the life of my ancestors and helped our family prosper. Since then, our family has always lived with gratitude and preserved our ethics. But you don't realize that your actions are meant to help yourself, not just others. You must learn how to sustain the virtue you have accumulated." From the scholar's words, the cat realized that during its cultivation, it had focused solely on gaining more tails and forgot the true purpose of doing good, which was self-enlightenment, not just to receive rewards. Finally, the cat achieved 9 tails and became the 9-tailed cat, symbolizing its enlightenment and perfection. Lessons from the story of the 8-tailed cat. The story of the 8-tailed cat offers many valuable lessons about accumulating virtue, doing good deeds, and seeking enlightenment. First, the story emphasizes that doing good deeds and helping others is a path that leads to virtue and prosperity. Every good action, no matter how small, can bring invisible blessings to the person performing them. Secondly, the story also points out that virtue is not something that can be accumulated indefinitely without limits. The cat learned that when it did not maintain humility and sincerity in its good deeds, its virtue could not continue to develop, and might even be depleted. The changing of the first tail is a symbol of how virtue can diminish if it is not preserved and promoted persistently. Lastly, the story shows that the purpose of doing good deeds is not to receive rewards, but to improve oneself, to become a better person. The cat began doing good deeds not because it wanted to achieve a certain number of tails, but because it wanted to help others. However, it had forgotten its original ideal and focused solely on external goals. When the cat realized that the true purpose of good deeds was self-improvement, it finally attained enlightenment. The most important lesson from the story is to do good deeds out of kindness, for enlightenment, not for rewards. When we help others, we should not only think about personal benefits, but do it with a sincere heart. Virtue will naturally come to those who live according to their conscience and act for the common good, and in the end, wealth and blessings will follow. The teachings of the Buddha about doing good and accumulating virtue. In the Buddha's teachings, doing good and accumulating virtue are crucial elements, not only helping us to live a peaceful life, but also leading to enlightenment and eternal happiness. Buddha pointed out that virtue does not come from grand actions or material things, but from the good deeds arising from the heart. The Buddha's teachings on doing good and accumulating virtue serve as a compass for people on the path to seeking inner peace and tranquility, as well as prosperity and luck in life. Doing good for compassion, not for reward. One of Buddha's key teachings on doing good is, do good not for the sake of seeking blessings, but out of compassion and mercy. This means that good deeds must arise from love and the desire to help, share, and support others, not to expect any benefit or rewards in return. In modern society, many people do good deeds with the expectation of receiving something in return, but Buddha emphasized that true goodness is not a transaction. When you do good deeds for personal gain, whether or not you receive blessings, you are not truly accumulating virtue. On the other hand, when you do good deeds from compassion, sincerity, and selflessness, virtue will naturally come in a sustainable way. The virtue that Buddha speaks of is a profound change in the heart, not a material reward or instant repayment. Accumulating virtue through simple and daily actions. Buddha also taught that accumulating virtue does not require grand actions or extraordinary deeds, but it can be accomplished through simple, everyday actions. Each small act of goodness performed with a compassionate heart can create virtue. Simple things like helping the elderly across the street, sharing with the poor, visiting the sick, or offering a kind word to someone in trouble are all ways to accumulate virtue. We often think that only great deeds can create great virtue, but Buddha taught that every good deed, no matter how small, is a seed of virtue. These small seeds will be sown into life and sprout, creating lasting good things and prosperity. Virtue is not just wealth, but peace and happiness. According to Buddha, virtue is not simply wealth or material things, but more importantly, peace in the heart and inner happiness. Virtue helps us live peacefully, without worrying about money or fame. People with true virtue will feel at ease in life, because they are no longer fearful of loss or deprivation. They know that, through good deeds, they have built a solid foundation for themselves and their family, and they live with a deep belief in the fairness of the universe. Virtue is also an invisible protection that you can feel in your life. When you live virtuously, avoiding negative karma, you will feel protected and supported, helping you overcome difficulties, find good opportunities, and avoid risks. Virtue creates an invisible shield that allows you to live peacefully and happily in any circumstance, accumulating virtue to elevate character and achieve enlightenment. Buddha did not only teach that accumulating virtue is for the current life, but it is also a means to attain enlightenment and liberation. Accumulating virtue and doing good are crucial steps on the path to spiritual practice, helping us overcome all suffering and pain in life. When we accumulate virtue, we not only make our lives better, but also build a foundation to reach wisdom and enlightenment in the future. Therefore, Buddha taught that doing good is not only about seeking material prosperity, but is the path to nurturing the spirit, helping us transcend all pain, understand the essence of all things, and find the way to liberation from samsara. Merit is action, and equality is virtue, said the sixth patriarch Huineng, emphasizing that doing good is the way to elevate character and reach enlightenment. Buddha's teachings on doing good and accumulating virtue are profound lessons that not only help us lead a good and happy life, but also guide us toward enlightenment. Good deeds must come from a compassionate heart, not from seeking rewards, but from the desire to bring joy and peace to others. Accumulating virtue is a long-term process that starts with small actions in daily life, and true virtue is not material wealth but peace in the heart. Live righteously and accumulate virtue to change your life and bring virtue to those around you. Cultivating and elevating the soul. In spiritual life, cultivating the soul is not just about performing religious rituals or participating in charitable activities. It is also the process of elevating the soul's levels. Buddhism and many other spiritual traditions emphasize that human life is not just about fulfilling material needs, but also about nurturing the soul, achieving enlightenment and purity. Cultivation is the path that helps us achieve spiritual perfection, transcend desires and distractions, and reach a state of spiritual flourishing. The soul and advancement in cultivation. The human soul is considered invisible, but it is the most important part of who we are, determining the peace, tranquility, or suffering in our lives. In many spiritual schools, the soul is divided into levels, each representing the degree of development and enlightenment of each individual. The closer to the highest level, the more purified the soul, free from greed, anger, and ignorance, and closer to the light of enlightenment. Cultivation is the process of soul development step by step, from lower levels to higher ones. Everyone is born with a different level of soul depending on their karma and actions in previous lives. However, anyone can change and elevate their soul level through self-cultivation, doing good deeds, learning, and practicing ethical principles in life. Soul levels in the path of cultivation. According to Buddhism, people can be categorized into 6 soul levels, each representing their conditions in life and behavior. This classification helps us better understand the goals and journey of cultivation. The first level, hell path, the lowest soul level, where people suffer in misery, pain, and live in very dark conditions. Those in this level usually live in physical and mental agony, encountering constant disasters in life, bearing negative karma from past wrongdoings. The second level, hungry ghost path. This level represents those who live with endless desires and greed. Even though they may have wealth and power, they still feel they never have enough and constantly crave more. People in this level tend to exploit others, live selfishly, and lack compassion. The third level, animal path. This soul level represents those who live in unconsciousness, unable to control themselves, driven by instincts and low desires. They live in a world of uncontrolled passions and often make mistakes, suffering due to lack of wisdom. The fourth level, human path. This is the level of those who are conscious, able to distinguish right from wrong and try to live well. People in this level tend to have peaceful lives, good relationships with others, and help those in need. However, they are still not fully free from life's temptations and difficulties, and must go through challenges to improve their character. The fifth level, Arhat path. Those at this level have reached a higher level of cultivation. They are no longer controlled by greed, anger, or ignorance, living in purity and maintaining ethical lives. They possess great wisdom, understanding the nature of the universe and life, living with compassion for all beings. The sixth level, celestial path. This is the level of enlightened beings who have fully attained enlightenment. They have profound understanding of all things, are free from desires, and live in absolute peace. They have transcended all suffering and attained complete freedom, able to help others achieve enlightenment. How to elevate the soul level. Elevating the soul level is not an easy task. Cultivation requires persistence, patience, and continuous effort to correct mistakes, learn, and practice ethical teachings. Here are some ways to elevate your soul level: doing good deeds and accumulating virtue. Every good action helps us accumulate virtue and purify karma. When you help others without expecting anything in return, you are elevating your character and spirit. Maintaining inner peace, not being controlled by negative emotions. When you learn to control your emotions, not let greed, anger, or ignorance take over, you will experience peace of mind. This helps you get closer to enlightenment. Cultivating wisdom and enlightenment. Studying and practicing wisdom in life is the way to elevate the soul level. When you understand the nature of life, face suffering and pain with calmness, you will develop the ability to achieve self-enlightenment, correcting your own behavior, eliminating bad habits. To elevate your soul level, we need to get rid of bad habits, negative thoughts, and replace them with good actions. This process requires patience and time. Cultivation is the path to absolute tranquility. Cultivation and elevating the soul level is a long journey that each person must experience. It is not just about improving the physical self, but more importantly, cultivation is the way to elevate the soul, aiming for enlightenment and ultimate freedom from the distractions and sufferings of life. Every person is born with a different soul level, but through cultivation we can change, elevate, and reach higher spiritual states. Cultivation is the path to spiritual advancement. Cultivation is not about performing religious rituals. It is a process of self-cultivation and spiritual development. This process involves abandoning desires, greed, anger, and ignorance, learning to live virtuously, helping others, and maintaining a peaceful mind. When we learn to keep our minds pure, avoiding negative emotions such as anger, greed, and ignorance, we get closer to purity and enlightenment. Elevating the soul level is not just a spiritual goal, but also achieving peace in life. People with high soul levels are less affected by difficulties, challenges, and suffering. They are capable of facing the truths of life with calmness and compassion. Soul levels and personal development. The human soul can be divided into various levels, each representing different stages of spiritual and intellectual growth. From the lowest levels, such as the hell path or hungry ghost path, where people are driven by desires and suffering, one can rise through higher levels by changing their behavior, thoughts, and awareness. To ascend to higher soul levels, one must overcome life's challenges, practice morality, and accumulate virtue. To reach higher soul levels, we need to overcome obstacles in life, practice ethical living, and accumulate virtue. The transformation process involves letting go of desires, practicing patience, and building a compassionate and wise heart. Cultivation as the transformation of self. Cultivation is not only an external practice but also an inner transformation. As you persist in doing good deeds, accumulating virtue, and developing wisdom, your soul gradually elevates. Cultivation helps us become more compassionate, wiser, and capable of loving all beings without discrimination. These virtuous acts and wisdom help elevate our soul level, taking us closer to enlightenment and peaceful living. Enlightenment is the ultimate goal of the cultivation journey. When you achieve enlightenment, you not only understand the true nature of all things but also live a peaceful, harmonious life, free from suffering. Cultivation allows you to realize that life is not just about accumulating material wealth, but about finding your true self, understanding intangible values like love, compassion, and wisdom. Thus, the cultivation journey is long and profound. For every individual, it is not just about physical improvement but a path to elevate the soul, aiming for enlightenment and ultimate freedom from the sufferings of life. Each person is born with a different soul level, but through cultivation we can change, elevate, and achieve higher spiritual states. Spiritual cultivation as the path to a higher soul level. Cultivation is not about performing rituals or engaging in charitable activities. It is a process of self-cultivation and spiritual growth. This process involves transcending desires, anger, ignorance, and learning to live ethically, helping others, and maintaining peace of mind. When we learn to keep our minds pure, free, From negative emotions like greed, anger, and ignorance, we get closer to purity and enlightenment. Spiritual advancement is not just a goal about spiritual matters, it is also the means to attain peace in life. People with higher soul levels are less affected by difficulties and suffering. They can face the truths of life with calmness, wisdom, and compassion. The 3 major acts of virtue to cultivate. Spiritual, cultivation, and virtue are inseparable. The following 3 key actions can help you accumulate virtue. Honoring parents. As mentioned, honoring parents is the primary source of virtue. It is an expression of respect and gratitude towards those who gave us life and nurtured us. The virtue of honoring parents benefits not just the individual but the entire family and future generations. Honoring your parents and caring for them, especially when they are old, is an essential way to accumulate virtue. Speaking good words, speaking kind and encouraging words is another vital aspect of cultivating virtue. Words have a powerful impact on relationships and our spiritual growth. Using gentle, positive language can bring luck and opportunities while maintaining good relationships with others. In contrast, harmful words can cause lasting damage not only to others but also to ourselves. Doing good deeds and charity, engaging in acts of kindness, charity, and helping those in need is the most tangible way to accumulate virtue. Whether through simple acts like helping the elderly cross the street or more significant charitable efforts, every act of kindness adds to your store of virtue. Doing good deeds without expecting anything in return helps maintain spiritual purity and attracts positive energy. The Eight-Tailed Cat Story as a lesson. The story of the eight-tailed cat is a profound lesson about the importance of virtue. Begins with a cat in a temple, unaware of spiritual cultivation. The Buddha tells the cat that each good deed will result in the cat growing another tail. When the cat accumulates 9 tails, it will achieve enlightenment. Through its efforts to help others, the cat begins to grow more tails, symbolizing the accumulation of virtue. However, the cat learns that cultivating virtue is not about counting rewards but maintaining sincerity and humility in every action. The lesson from the eight-tailed cat is that cultivation is not about expecting rewards, but about transforming oneself for the betterment of all beings. Doing good deeds, whether small or large, is the true path to spiritual growth. The teachings of the Buddha on doing good and cultivating virtue. Buddha's teachings emphasize that true virtue comes not from material gain, but from the compassion and kindness in one's actions. Buddha instructed that we should do good not for rewards but from a place of compassion. These teachings show that virtue is an inner transformation, one that helps us find peace, happiness, and ultimately, enlightenment. The cultivation of virtue is a lifelong process requiring patience, wisdom, and a dedication to living righteously. Whether it is through respecting our parents, speaking kindly, or performing charitable acts, these deeds accumulate virtue and build the foundation for a prosperous, peaceful life. Cultivating virtue leads not only to material prosperity but also to spiritual growth and enlightenment. When we align our actions with compassion, we open the door to lasting blessings and wisdom, leading us toward a truly fulfilling life. Spiritual cultivation and personal growth. Spiritual cultivation is a continuous journey towards personal growth and enlightenment. As we accumulate virtue through good deeds, we elevate our soul to higher levels, gradually breaking free from the limitations of worldly attachments. Cultivating virtue is an essential part of spiritual practice, as it helps us transcend desires and reach a state of true peace. The practice of cultivation transforms the soul, enabling us to approach life with a balanced, wise, and compassionate heart. Through consistent effort and a dedication to ethical living, we open ourselves to a life of peace, prosperity, and spiritual fulfillment. Conclusion. In summary, spiritual cultivation, the accumulation of virtue, and the understanding of the deeper connection between action and the laws of the universe are fundamental in shaping our destiny. Cultivating good deeds, honoring our ancestors, living virtuously, and helping others all contribute to the development of both our inner selves and outer lives. The process of cultivating virtue and advancing spiritually is not just a path toward personal peace and success, but also a way to create a positive impact on the lives of others, ensuring long-lasting blessings, prosperity, and happiness for ourselves, our families, and our communities. Through the practice of doing good and accumulating virtue, we not only change our own lives but also contribute to a better, more harmonious world.